Right, Royal Blood for game 2. This, I liked game 1. I enjoyed game 1. Decent. Both players doing a pretty good job. If I was being critical, I would say neither player was aggressive enough. From the Protoss point of view, you cannot allow a Zerg to just consume the map. You have to get up in their grill. And Wyrm did have some Phoenix, but didn't really make use of them. Phoenix are very, very good units against Zerg, because they can fly in, they can snipe overlords, they can cut down the Zerg's vision, they can run into mineral lines, they can do a lot of damage. So those Phoenix need to be active, they need to be across the map doing stuff. You also need to try where you can to pare back the Zerg's creep spread. And if you can do that, you're in good shape. There were a lot of lurkers on the map for GreyRavon last time, and if you're playing as a Protoss struggling against lurkers, disruptors are pretty much made to counter lurkers. That's what they're for. So disruptors fire the Nova ball that then explodes. You don't have to be able to see the lurkers to use that. As long as you know where they are, if you can see where their shots are coming from, you fire the Nova ball on top of the lurkers. It does splash, it one-shots the lurkers. So that can be extremely good. Colossus are not great against lurkers. Colossus, generally, you need something that packs a bit more punch. Colossus do splash damage. The lurkers typically aren't that bunched up. So a Colossus actually has a pretty weak attack, but it does great splash. It's a big splash area. So once you've got a lot of Colossus against light units that aren't armored, loses this again, GreyRavon. You do need to stop losing that initial Overlord. However, did get useful scouting information, saw that it is a double gateway opener. No forge or anything too freakish to worry about, and if this was going to be a super fast Twilight, there wouldn't be a second gateway at that early time. It's not at the 3:20. Yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, Colossus, a weak attack but a big area of splash, so really good against very light units, but against something like lurkers, they're not great. Lurkers, there's not a large number of them, there's a few of them, individual units, so you want something that punches those hard. So your options are, Immortals are actually pretty good because the barrier they have absorbs the damage, so they can run in, one-shot a lurker and run out and then regen their shields. Obviously, the disruptor that I mentioned, very, very good. And storms can be good as well. Again, the storms are good because you don't need to be able to see them. You can just drop the storm and it does splash. The Colossus, of course, and everything else does need to see the lurkers. And as I recall in the last game, GreyRavon did a pretty good job at one point in the engagement of sniping the observers and taking away the vision. So it looks like this might be a similar style. We have got a Hydra Den coming. The Roach Warren is done. There were a handful of roaches in the last game, but I don't think GreyRavon leaned into the roaches too heavily. Over here in Protoss land, we are going to see a Stargate again. We've got the double Robo, we've got the Robo Bay, so it looks like this might be a similar style as well. I would like Wyrm to use this observer to really get it into his opponent's base and keep better tabs on the opponent's army and exactly where they're at. In the last game, the observer got F2'd home a few times. Now, these zealots, if they're in the right position, they could kill a creep queen or two and get out of there. Obviously, they can't fight against this lot, but they could just run in, snipe this queen, and then do one. But you do need to run now. You're just going to lose the zealots for free, which is a shame. And the observer, which is actually a little bit painful. So that isn't a great trade. An observer and 4 zealots for a queen is not really what you want to be doing. What you want to do is try and snipe the creep queens and then run. Just get out of there. GreyRavon this time, getting the 4th down that bit sooner. I like it. The 3rd coming down reasonably well timed for Wyrm. Now there are, Wyrm has got Phoenix up again, but I really want to see these Phoenix getting used more. These Phoenix are such fast units. They give you such great map control because you can just be flying. Again, you could snipe creep queens with the Phoenix. You can dive in, lift a queen, snipe it. This is, it's a pretty big surround, but there's still a reasonable amount of Protoss here, but I just don't think there's quite enough. It is going to be pretty tight though. Maybe is there enough? No, not quite. I tell you what though, it wasn't, I don't know, let's have a look at the units lost tab. Yeah, a little bit painful. Once the Zerg's got a full surround on you and you're fighting on creep, that can end pretty badly for you. Now, there is a Colossus at home, but there's no shield batteries here. This, however, is enough Protoss surely to squash this attack. If it was all fighting, Wyrm! This Colossus, what is it, stuck or something? Is this Colossus stuck? I don't understand how it's stuck. They can walk up and down cliffs. It is, it's stuck. What is happening? Oh, that is so unfortunate. This Colossus has somehow managed to get itself like... Oh, two of them? Oh, no. I mean, at this point, it's worth just taking out the pylon to let them escape. Because that, you know, a pylon costs 100. These Colossus are 300 each. This is a bit painful. Yeah, I feel like even without the Colossus, I feel like Wyrm could have saved this base. You know, if we think back to that little poke from GreyRavon, it wasn't overcommitted. There wasn't that many units in it, and it looked like Colossus definitely had enough. Okay, so Wyrm has taken out that pylon, and the Colossus are now free. Let's have a look at the upgrades. So nothing yet, but we have got +1 armor being researched in Protoss land. I think by the 12-minute mark, you really do need to have some upgrades on the map, and worth dropping a second forge so that you can push those out two at a time. I have been critical in the past of people dropping sort of super early forges and worrying about upgrades, and I stand by that. In the first 5 minutes of the game, your money is better spent on more units. But once you're getting toward the 10-minute mark, then yes, you know, if you think about how many units you've got and whether or not the upgrade is worthwhile. If you think about how many hit points does +1 armor add, it adds 1 hit point to kind of each of your units. Is that really a good spend? You know, a single zealot has 150 hit points. Is that adding 1 to each unit a useful way to spend 100? Well, it is if you've got 80 units, yeah. If you haven't got 80 units, then, well, maybe not so much. Now, obviously, it isn't as simple as adding hit points like that, but you get the idea. Until you've got a decent army, upgrades just aren't really that worthwhile. But once you do have a decent army, they become very valuable indeed. Oh, that was a lot of lurkers killed, so I do like that for Wyrm. But I tell you what I'd love even more. I would love for there to just be some shield batteries here, because that would just absolutely change what these fights look like. This is a very, very potent Zerg army. You know, lurkers do so much. Look at the way they're just like that Colossus got shreked, never fired a shot. Hydras have serious DPS. It is a potent army. You need a very good engagement against an army like that. I would have loved to have seen some storms. You needed more meat shield in the front, but more than any of that, 2 shield batteries in the back, and that is just a completely different fight. However, fair play, GreyRavon has done a pretty bang up job there. What I would say though is you did end the game with 8,000 minerals in the bank. You know what I mean? Yeah, you might want to get spending that. But you know, GG.